means being recorded. Let's see, I need to click on control. We gotta give permission. All right, let me set this up right here so I can kind of see. Okay. I gotta do this right here too. Cool beans. I got two computers, 2 cameras. Got it all going on. All right. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is our 5th meeting of the Tucker Profit Group. Got our agenda here. Tell me something good. The good news is that we are here. We're still here to tell the story. That's my good news for the day. And so the other thing I'm gonna I want to just do is a little recap. We're gonna do a little recap of what we've done to date, some of the things we've talked about. And then today we're going to cover chapter 2 and 3 in the Profit First book. This book right here. You can get this online at your favorite bookstore or Amazon, whatever. We also have a PDF version of this book, so you can get that. You can reach out to Julia or Deanna, and they can get you a copy of this of the PDF version. You have to pay for the book. Then we're going to talk about commitments. Very important. We're going through this. What are your commitments? And then the assignments for the next time that we get together. All right. So we're going to blow through this quick today. Recap of where we've been. Some concepts. Oh, wow. What I just realized is that for some reason, I updated this, but I don't see the update. That's interesting. So anyhow, we did talk about successful money management, and how it's really more dependent on your behavior than it is what you know. There's a lot of very smart people, very knowledgeable people who totally mess up money management because of how they behave. It's also important to understand that really when you're talking about building wealth, it's about your rate of savings. The rate of savings will drive profit for your business and ultimately the wealth that you're able to accumulate over time. It's not so much about how much you make or your returns per se, but it's that rate of savings. How much are you saving out of what's coming in? The other thing is, and this is a point that I don't think many people actually enjoy hearing. You don't get real excited about it, but to increase profit, we have to increase humility. It was the last time somebody told you, hey, you need to be more humble to be more profitable, to increase your wealth, right? That comes because, we get caught up whenever we want to buy the latest and the greatest, and we want to look good and feel good and do all these things that ultimately cost money. And there's only 5 things you can do with a dollar. You can you can pay living expenses, you can pay taxes, you can donate it, you can save it or invest it, right? And when you do any one of those 5, it's no longer available for you to do the other 4. So as we're making choices, if we're making choices to buy, to spend, that means that that dollar is no longer available for you to invest, for you to put away, for you to build wealth. And so that's when we say about humility, because sometimes maybe you're not driving the best car, you're not living in the fanciest house, or you got the fanciest clothes or whatever, in order to build your wealth, in order to take your money and invest it and put it in a place where it's going to generate more money for you. And then we also talked about flipping the script on accounting and how we account for things. Typical is sales minus expenses equals profit. So profit comes last. In this concept of profit first, we want to bring profit to the forefront of our mind. So we say, hey, sales minus profit equals expenses. The concept there being, once you lock in your profit, whatever you have left over is what you can use to operate and run and do your business. And so, it forces you to do some interesting things. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this session. So we go to chapter 2. We're going to talk about, and we're moving into the 2 chapters that we were supposed to read for today. Core principles of profit first. And so we're going to get into that. There's really 4 core principles. Principles of using small plates, the principle of serving sequentially, principle of removing temptation, and the principle of enforcing a rhythm. All right, so let's talk about those. Using a small plate, and a guy in the book gives an example of using a small plate from a dining perspective and saying how, here in the US, you go to a restaurant or whatever, we serve, we get served up things on a huge plates. Like the plates have gotten larger, the servings are large, and you fill it up. And of course, the more you put on a plate, the more you're likely to eat. So the concept is, from a dining perspective, is you use smaller plates. And typically, even if it looks like the plate is full, it's going to be a smaller portion than you probably would have gotten if you had a larger plate. And therefore, that's how a way to manage what you're consuming. And therefore, you get the benefits of, maybe losing weight or maintaining your weight or whatever. So the concept of profit first, when we talk about small plates, it's, similar. Instead of having, all the funds come in and go into one account, and you have this big number in your account, and then you're making decisions, it's easier, if it looks like you have more money, then it's easier to make decisions about spending here, spending there. It's like, oh, well, I got enough, I got plenty here. Whereas the concept when we're going to talk about divvying it up into smaller plates or, different accounts, so you don't have as much in the account, right? So when you're making decisions, then you're operating from a smaller plate. The other concept there is this idea of starting small. And it's okay, when we talk about profit or whatever, you may have a target profit or objective that you want to get to in terms of your profit, but you may not be there right now, but that's okay. You can start where you are, even if you start with 1%. We'll talk about that. Start with just 1% profit, right? And you build from there. But it's ultimately going to be about building habit, whatever around it. So we'll talk about that. But it's that concept of using small plates, right? Serve sequentially. This is a great one. Again, I talked about that sort of equation, whatever, or formula of sales minus profit equals expenses. You want to bring, just psychologically, the things that we see first, we tend to put more focus on. So if we're thinking sales minus expenses, the focus tends to be more on, hey, building revenue and expenses, right? Spending. And then, at the end of the day, we'll have profit. Well, when you flip that and you bring profit up and you think, profit first, then what happens is when you have sales come in and you take profit off the table, off the top, then whatever you have left over, that's what you have to operate your business. And he gives a great example of a tube of toothpaste. I mean, it is a great example. I love this analogy because, when you get that fresh tube of toothpaste, and you go to brush your teeth, you globbing that stuff on, you got toothpaste falling all off the side of the toothbrush or whatever, and you falling out of your mouth, whatever, but you got plenty, so it's no big deal. But when you get down to the bottom of that tube, right? And we all been there. You get to the bottom of the tube, you don't have a backup. You got to brush your teeth. So what do? You're squeezing the tube, twisting that bad boy. You got the toothbrush, you're you digging the toothbrush in the tube, trying to get it in the tube to get a little toothpaste on your bristles so you can brush your teeth. But it's amazing what you can do, right? You work it out. It's like, man, this thing looked like it was empty, but somehow you squeeze enough out of there where you get maybe 1 or 2 more brushes, right? Out of that what would seem like an empty tube of toothpaste. Now the concept is, what if we did that when we had a full tube, right? And that's the thing, when you got a lot, right? If you're thinking about it the right way, whatever, and you're saying, hey, let me go ahead and take profit off the top. So then whatever I got left in my tube, whatever I got left to operate, then guess what? I'm gonna be more innovative. I'm gonna be more crafty. I'm gonna be smarter about how I spend and where I spend, and still get it happen, still make it happen. You know what I mean? And so that's the concept there with serving sequentially. And then the other thing around removing temptation. This is a key concept in saving, and you set yourself up for success, right? So for example, when you talk about investing, a lot of times, just different concepts and principles that, I've come across where it's like, hey, look, that's like why a 401k works so well, right? Because not even so much about the returns, but it's about when you put money in that 401k, it's out of sight. It's, it's not in your account. It's off on the side. It's in in an account over here. A lot of times people don't even look at their 401ks. And the other thing is, it's not easy to get to. It's not easy to access, right? So if you want to take that money out, there's some barriers in there. You got some extra fees, some extra taxes. You're less likely, if you need an extra $50 or whatever, to go to the 401k to pull it out because of those barriers and the fact that it's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So that's the concept with removing temptation, and we'll talk about that, is how do you set yourself up structurally so that, with respect to profit and some different things, you put it on the side and don't make it visible, and you make it as inaccessible as possible so that you're less likely to use it for things that you didn't really intend to use it for, right? So that's the concept of remove temptation. And then the last one of enforce a rhythm. Last time, we talked about making profit a habit. So it's really, this is what it's all about. It's about training ourselves to make profit a habit, getting the habit of having a profit on every transaction. And the strategies about how you do that. And we talk about enforcing a rhythm is like certain times of the month where you do things in terms of transferring funds and moving money into your account, whatever, where it's for your personal use and that kind of thing. It just trains you to be disciplined and not to be, just kind of, just making decisions kind of spur of the moment based on what's happening for the day, but you kind of manage yourself around, when you're going to make those moves and when funds are going to be available. And so, but I love that as well. We'll talk about that. And the thing is, these are some of the principles, some of the concepts, like I say, core principles. And these are things that it's just like the fundamentals of a sport, right? These are areas where, hey, you're working on getting better and better in these areas, throughout your career. It's not like we're going to master these day one, and we'll talk about that and give you an example of that just a little bit. Let's see, we go to the next one. Chapter 3, setting up profit first. So this is where we really, in chapter 3, they really start getting into, hey, what do you need to do? We're taking some steps now. We're really getting into the meat of this concept of profit first. And one of the things they talk about is setting up these 5 foundational accounts. right? Your first one is your income account or revenue account. Got your profit account, owner's compensation account. The owner's compensation account that's the money that you're going to pay yourself and that you would, cover your personal expenses and live on. And then your tax account and your operating expense account. The operating expense account is going to cover all the things that you have to pay for to operate and run your business. So I want to go back to profit, though. I want to be clear on that. What that concept of profit is really, it's after you cover all your expenses. That means you pay yourself, if you're paying anybody else, whatever, you have contractors, you have somebody on the payroll or whatever, you're paying them, you're paying, everything. From my perspective, whatever that would cover, when you're taking taxes off the table, but it's going to be all the expenses associated with your business. And at the end of the day, after you paid yourself, whatever, a true profit for a business, and you have to think about it this way. If you were going to sell your business, what people are really buying is they want to know what's the profitability of the business, right? So in other words, hey, I can operate this business. I got a certain amount of sales that are coming in. I got certain expenses that are coming in. I'm paying salaries, all of that. And at the end of the day, this business generates profit above and beyond all the expenses. That's really what you want to see. And that's what you want to grow over time, is that. And that's where your wealth is going to come from. Because wealth is the leftovers after you've paid and spent everything. Right. In other words, after you've done all your spending, then whatever's left over is wealth. And that wealth, that extra, that surplus that you accumulate over time is how you build wealth. Okay. So think about running your business and setting it up so that, hey, one day, I may want to sell this business, right? And to the extent that I can show people, and I have the documentation, I got the records to show that I have a sustainable business that has, revenue over time, has profit, hopefully profit that's growing over time. And people, will look at that and they're going to be willing to pay you good, pay you handsomely for your business, because like, wow, this thing really generates profit. Like nobody wants to buy something that, that's not generating profit. Well, they may, but they're not going to pay you. They're not going to pay you a premium for it. So anyhow, and then so they talk about the 5 foundational accounts, and then they also reference 2. They call them no temptation accounts. No temptation accounts. And go back to that concept, that principle of no temptation. And so what they talk about there is this 2 accounts, the profit hold and a tax hold, where, and you'll see, we'll talk about, and I'll show you that a little bit, how you allocate, how revenue is distributed across all those accounts. I'm sorry. Let me, hey, I need to pay myself $25 for not having my phone on mute. Okay, so no temptation accounts. So the concept is, when you're building profit, you're collecting profit off the top. You're also allocating funds to the tax account. Again, those are like no touch accounts, right? Like you don't want to spend that for some operating expenses, something for the business, whatever. That's specifically set aside for taxes and your profit. And you want to force yourself to have a profit in your business. You're forcing yourself to operate your business on whatever you have left, for operating expenses. And so what you do is you take the profit and the tax and you put those in a separate, they're advocating putting it in a separate bank account, a separate institution from your business bank account. And so it's like out of sight, out of mind. So you take it away, you put it in an account where it's not easily accessible. You don't want any, you don't want to be able to, you don't want it to be a checking account. You want to be savings account. You don't want to have easily transfer. You almost want it to be like, hey, I got to walk into the bank and ask them to, write me a check or whatever for the funds when I want to take the money out. So you want to make it difficult to access that money, okay? And this is the concept of no temptation. If you put those barriers in place, then once you put the money in there, you're less likely to access it for, things that come up, okay? And so they're saying, when you're talking to a bank account or talking to a bank about, setting up these accounts, because sometimes the banks will look at you crazy because like, why do you want to set up 5 to 7 accounts? It's like, or, what are you talking about? And then a lot of times the banks want to charge you, they want to have a minimum balance and, they'll charge you fees for transfers and things of that nature. So you want to talk to them about that? And I'll show you a link that Mike McKellowitz, who wrote the book, they maintain a list of certain institutions that are, are on board with Profit First, and so they'll offer those kinds of accounts to you without charging those fees. So I'll show you that in a little bit. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong page. All right, let's go here. Oh, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to share my screen. I want to share something with you guys. Let's see if I can do this. You can now start screen share while the other participant is sharing. Okay, well, let me do this. Shoot, hold up. Okay, stop share. There we go. Let's do that. And then come over here. Let's see if I can share this. So I kind of wanted to give you guys, I wanted to take a look at what does that look like practically, right? So, and this might be kind of small. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's say that you had, yeah, you can kind of see that. So I just set this spreadsheet up. So, and the way that this spreadsheet works is that basically what happens, and this is the concept with Profit First, is that when you get revenue in, let's say in this case, I was getting in $12,800, right, was my revenue. So I had commissions or whatever that, I was getting paid. So what I would do is, and you're going to see this in the book. We're not covering this right now in detail, but you'll see this, particularly as we get into the next chapters. A little bit ahead of ourselves, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and cover it. So you got your accounts here, your revenue, profit, owner's comp, taxes, and OpEx, right? Okay, I'm right down the work here. Okay, so actually, let me pick this up. I love the fact that I can do that. I still have to bend down to this. Okay, that doesn't do me any good. Right. So you got your different. So what you want to do is when you get that check, basically what you're going to do is you're going to allocate those monies. You're not going to just deposit, the 12,800. You're going to deposit it into your revenue account. You do have a revenue account or income account, right? But you don't leave it there, okay? You're going to put it in there, and we're going to talk about that. Periodically, what you'll do is you're going to reallocate those monies to these other accounts. So based on these percentages here. So the percentages I have here is 12% for profit, 30% for owner's comp, 20% for taxes, and 38% OpEx, okay? And so basically you put the number in here with the green numbers and numbers that you type in, and then it's going to calculate everything else, right? So basically, at 12,800, at 12%, gives you a profit of $1,536. Okay, your owner's comp is $3,840. Taxes, based on a 20% allocation, is $2,560, and OPEX is $4,864. Now, so this is just to give you an example of just how this works. Okay, so what you would do is whenever you have a deposit into your account, right? You can, if you get a check, I mean, what I do, what I would recommend is allocating it right off the top. So when I deposit that check, I'm going to allocate that money to those accounts, right? So that when I go and look at my bank account, I'm looking at the funds as they've been allocated, right? So I don't want to be looking at, you know, revenue or whatever, or looking at account and thinking I have all this money. See, it's very telling to look at and say, man, I got a check for 12,800. But when you do the allocation, if your owner's comp is 30%, really all you have is $3,840, right? That you can spend. Like that's owner's comp is what you're going to use for your personal use, right? So you really only have $3,840 that you're taking to your personal account and spend for your vacation, for your food, for your subscriptions, you know, for your cable, your mortgage, right? All that stuff. You look at it and you say, well, I'm putting away $25 or $2,560 for taxes. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that these are the right allocations. I'm saying that the concept is that, and you're going to go through a process of looking at your business and seeing, you know, how do these percentages work in your business today, and coming up with, hey, what's your target percentages, right? And then you go through a process of determining, okay, how do I go from where I'm at today to move towards the target? And you don't go from, you know, let's say my profit, you know, you might not have a profit in your business right now. Maybe your profit's 1%, maybe it's 5%, whatever. But you say, hey, you know what? I would like to have a business that has a 15% profit or a 20% profit after I've paid everything, whatever that number might be, right? And you say, well, how do I get there? So then it'll take you through that, how you get there. And you go there, it's going to be small incremental steps. But the thing is, you got to start, and you know, you start making different decisions and you put things in place, whatever. So once you recognize profit, again, if I take $1,536 and put it in my profit account, and I put $2,560 in my tax account, and I, you know, pull those over, and they're in a no temptation accounts over here that it's not easily accessible, then that money is no longer available for me to, you know, buy marketing materials, or, you know, run an ad, a whole bunch of Facebook ads, or, you know, buy a bunch of new signs, or, you know, maybe hire somebody or whatever, you know. So that's the, you know, that's kind of the concept there. Hopefully that makes sense. So as you look at this, right, this is an example. Let's say somebody was tracking over time. Based on the conversation that we just had, and I don't know if we actually covered this in I'm trying, let me see. I don't know if they covered this. Sometimes I get ahead of myself on, yeah, I don't know if they actually, I don't think they actually covered this in this chapter. Let me see. Yeah, like for example, with the no temptation accounts, you know, they talk about, you know, let me see, I'm trying to, let me see if we talk about that. The idea was they talk about making those transfers when you talk about on a regular basis and making it a habit. They talk about doing that like twice a month. And anyhow, in this case, again, when we're reading the book, one of the things I want to emphasize is that, you know, this is a reference, and this is a concept of, you know, this idea of profit first is a concept. There are certain things that to me are like the foundational accounts. I feel, based on my experience, very strongly about, hey, you need to set that up. The other things, you know, like they might have some suggestions about how to do things or whatever, or maybe even some suggestions about the percentages and stuff. To me, that's not hard and fast. That's where you got to kind of work with where you are and, you know, what your targets are, and, you know, how do you move to that place. As an example, I'll just give you an example. Last year, for example, and I just started out this way. I mean, you can start out at different levels. I started out with a 10% profit number when I first started. And so when I deposited the check, I allocated 10% to the profit account, okay? And it's interesting, if you were to look at my account, so what you see is, so fine, I was doing that on a regular basis, I allocated the 10%. But I did two things that, you know, wasn't according to the book. So one of the things was, at the end of the year, I basically transferred the money I had in the profit account into my personal account, like all of it. We'll talk more about that later, but that's not necessarily per the book, okay? You can transfer a portion of it, but I don't think they encourage you to transfer all of it, but I did. The other thing was, and it's one of the things they encourage you to do in the book, is to look at those percentages on a quarterly basis and make adjustments on a quarterly basis. So I didn't do that. I pretty much had it fixed for the time that I was doing it, which wasn't a whole year, but it was, you know, probably 5 or 6 months. Anyhow, so I looked at it recently, and so I decided, you know, I made a decision to say, hey, I'm gonna bump it up 2%. So I went from 10 to 12, right? Now maybe my target is 15, 18, 20, whatever. But, you know, again, maybe I can't get there right now, right? But I'm gonna go up, you know, 1%, 2%, whatever. The concept is you're building a habit, you're forcing yourself to operate with some new behaviors, and you build it over time. And so that's the thing. What you don't want to do is like, I'm going to go 20%, then I'm down to 2% or 5% or 25%. You don't want to go up and down and be herky-jerky. You want it to build solid so that, look, if I make a decision to take it up a notch, then I'm going to have everything in place to make sure that I can sustain that over time. All right. All right. So that's that concept. The other thing is this: in the book, they actually talk about like allocating twice a month, like transferring money to your personal account and stuff like that on the 10th and the 25th. Well, you know, so you see here, right? First couple of months, whatever, it was once a month. We did twice a month here, once a month there, once a month here, you know. And so, again, it's not about perfection in terms of, oh, I got to do it exactly this way. But, you know, ideally, yeah, I think it would be good to get to that point where you got the consistency and, you know, and I can do it whatever, twice a month, whatever. But again, I just wanted to put that out there that you got to give yourself some grace in, you know, in doing these things, implementing these concepts. It's about growing over time and getting better as we go. So, all right. Let me go back to, I'm gonna be flipping back and forth. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to do this. Let's see, I'm gonna flip back. Oh, actually, I may be able to do it right here, just a second. So, hold on. All right, okay, let me do this. I'm gonna have to stop sharing and then share again. And let's see, PowerPoint. Okay. So we talked about this. All right, so what's coming up? Here's what's coming up. Okay, so as we move towards our next time together, where we'll be covering chapters 3 and 4, 4 and 5. Again, we're really getting into some meat here, right? So 2 things: assessing the health of your business. So you have an opportunity, and I'll show you this through this link right here. You can access a worksheet that will help you assess where you are in your business in terms of the percentages, and then you can identify some target percentages that you want to get to. And so you'll have an opportunity to do that. But there's a worksheet here. And then the other thing is the allocation of percentages. So they're going to talk more about that, right? So again, all of this, I kind of talked a little bit about it right now, which is fine. This is really getting into the kind of the, some of the meat of this concept. And so over these next few weeks, this is something that we're really, really going to focus on. So let me see, I'm going to see if I can share with you guys just to show you that sheet. Let's see if I have that. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. So let me go back here. I'm going to do a share. And oh boy. Not Microsoft. Google. There it is. Okay. So you'll see when you access that that link, so there's some instructions here on doing what they call an instant assessment of your business. And this is the worksheet right here that, and it kind of gives some examples based on the volume. Now, taking into consideration, this is based on, giving some examples based on the volume of revenue volume of a business and what the potential, targets might be for profit and owner's pay and tax and stuff. Again, this is a general concept. This is not specific to real estate. So, again, you don't necessarily have to be, hold yourself to these particular, in fact, what I would recommend is that you kind of use the MREA as the guide, right? Where we talk about, gross commission income, right? Minus cost of sales, minus your operating expenses equals your net income, your profit. So think about it in that sort of in that vein. But anyhow, you can, you use that. And then again, this is where, this is some general conceptual things that we're going to have to apply specifically to our real estate businesses. Now, here's the worksheet right here where you actually go in and fill in the actuals for your top line revenue. Again, this is not going to match perfectly with the MREA. So you got materials, subs, and they define all of this in the book. So you get to your real revenue, your profit, your owner's pay, tax, and operating expenses, okay? So you'll be able to fill that in, and then you'll get into the profit first percentages according to, you know, what they have up there, and then profit first dollars. And then again, this is all explained in the book, right? Where they talk about, you know, sort of the difference between what you're actually doing versus the percentages, the ideal percentages that you want to get to. And they call that the bleed if there's a difference. And then the fix, this last column is going to be, you know, what are you going to do to move in the direction of your target, right? So it's, you know, again, if your profit is 0, maybe you say, okay, let me go to 1%. So the fix is I'm going to start with a 1% profit. And then, you know, again, you adjust the owner's pay, the tax, operating expenses, whatever. So anyhow, this is what we're getting into now in the book. And so when we get back together next week, we'll be able to, you know, this is going to be very interactive. We can talk through it, work through it, see what everybody's doing. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? And you know, we'll just help each other to be great with these. Okay. All right, let me do this. I'm gonna stop sharing this, and then we are going to, I'm gonna go back to the, PowerPoint, and we're gonna close out here, okay? Sorry. All right, so now, all right, guys, we're getting to the point now where we gotta start making some commitments, right? For this to be effective for us, we gotta commit to it. A couple of things you gotta commit to. You gotta open your foundational accounts. That means that you need to have a revenue account, your profit account, your tax account, your operating expense, your owner's account, okay? Talk to your bank, whatever, if you want to figure out, you know, who's doing that, then you can work on it, okay? Transfer at least 1% of your business bank funds into a profit account. You got to go ahead and get started on that. You want to do that off the top. Don't wait until, hey, we're got everything perfectly lined up. You go ahead and start. Right now, go into your account, allocate 1% of whatever you have in your account to your profit account. And then that's what you're putting on the side. Okay, we're going to start that right now. Assess and record the health of your business. That's going through that assessment. You got to be realistic. You know, in order for us to get better, we gotta be real. We got to be honest with ourselves. We want to have a sober estimate of where we stand. So you got to look at the numbers. You got to, you know, put it down on paper, and we're going to look at it, and then we'll figure out how to go from there. Okay. And the other thing is immediate implementation of the allocation percentages, right? So when you figure out, hey, what percentages you want to work, that means that next check that comes in, we're allocating according to those percentages. All right. And it's okay. The good thing about this is, hey, you start and, you know, we might wiggle a little bit and waggle and up and down, but you're going to get it and figure out what the percentages need to be. You're going to figure out how to manage within that. And the beautiful thing about it is that by implementing this, I have no doubt that what it does for us at the end of the day is it assures us that we have a profit from our business that we're working so hard to build. And that means everything, right? That we have a profit at the end of the day. And we have something that we can hold up and show that, hey, this is the fruits of my labor. And that's what I get really excited about. I'm excited about that for our business. I'm excited about that for your business. Okay. All right, let's see. The next thing I am going to, that's it. Next meeting, again, we're going to meet next Friday, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We won't be here. Well, I don't know. I kind of like this room. We're in the large conference room today. I like it. It's a little bit more intimate. We might just rock this. You know, if we get a bigger crowd, then, you know, we'll, you know, maybe we'll move. But I think we might come back to this room next week. Anyhow, chapters 4 and 5 for next week. You guys be good. Profit first. We out. Peace.